Interested in learning how to make restaurant-style French onion soup? Say goodbye to this. All you need is some farm fresh onions, a little bit of broth, and you've got a delicious meal. Let's visit Brandeston Farm and learn how to make it. Hey everybody, welcome to our series Farm to Fork. I'm Chef Connie Powers. Last week we took you to Earlton, Ontario. This week we're bringing you back to the Kawartha Lakes, and we're going on a tour to County Road 8 between Bobcaygeon and Fenelon Falls to a farm called Brandeston Farm. There we met the owners, Bonnie and Ken Stinson, and their grown sons. When we were on the farm, they took us on a tour. The last name is Stinson, but the farm is called Brandeston, and it's named after a place in the UK. When we were on the farm, we noticed that there's diverse fruits and vegetables growing on this farm. We couldn't get over it. Every time we turned around, there was a new crop, something growing, and we were there in September, so it was the height of the harvest. What we noticed is that they have a very unique way of drying out their onions, and they are strung up, and it looked like Christmas. There were so many onions. We've decided to make a French onion soup today. So in front of us, you will see some shredded Gruyere cheese. I've got about 15 onions already sliced. The cameraman did this because we had to do this ahead of time. So yeah, there's some tears in the kitchen right now. We're going to start with cooking down the onions. So, you know, French onion soup, don't go to the package. Don't go to that little package. So the French onion soup is easy to make. It's just a little bit time consuming, a little cumbersome to cut so many onions up. So what we're going to start with is a Dutch oven. I've chosen to use a non-stick surface because the onions do tend to stick a little when you're caramelizing them. We're going to start off in our hot cast iron pan with about 1/2 cup of salted butter. The pan's hot, so we're going to melt that. One thing you can see it's starting to foam up. One thing you don't want though is you do not want your butter to burn. So we'll get this melted. Now, sometimes you'll see people using a little olive oil and a little butter. I prefer to use just butter for that flavor, and it'll really help to sweeten and caramelize the onions quick. So you'll see with the onions, there's about 15 onions here, and you can see that we've sliced them in half. I say we, but I didn't do any of this. And then we just made them into thin rings. All right, our butter is starting to melt, and we're going to just start placing the onions in. This is a great soup to make in the spring because you can crack open a window and let the scent of all these frying onions. Some people like them, some people don't. Now it looks like I'm filling up my cast iron, but remember, these are going to cook down. Now, this is where you can get your onions cooking and then just let them cook down, stir them every so often. This is going to take about 30 minutes. All right, we're going to clean that up, put the lid on so that they have an opportunity to cook down, and then we're going to just start making our baguettes. It's part of the assembly. We're going to take a baguette, we're going to drizzle it with olive oil and put it into the oven just to crisp that up. We'll set aside our cheese. Now, if you noticed, I have Gruyere cheese here shredded. You could use Emmental, you can use Gouda, you can use any Dutch cheese if you'd like. Don't use mozzarella because it just doesn't have enough flavor. All right, so we're going to take the heel off. We don't need that. We're going to slice it on an angle to get as much surface as we can. You could use, I do have a large size soup bowl today that I'm going to be using. Because if you don't have the French onion crock, just use an oven-safe soup bowl. And I think in these I'll be putting 2 slices of baguette. All right, we're going to just do a few. This seems like it might be out of sequence, but it's a good opportunity to do it while your onions are cooking. So now what you want to do is place these baguettes on a cooking sheet, not that one. And then just take some olive oil, drizzle that. You could put a little bit of seasoning on there, a little bit of salt and pepper if you want. And that's ready in the oven to toast. We're going to put this in the oven. We're going to give it our first stir. You're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. Onions are starting to become very fragrant. They're starting to caramelize. I'm going to turn my heat up, and here's where I'm going to add in a little bit of seasoning to help them. So I'm going to add in about half a teaspoon of thyme, half a teaspoon of oregano. I've got herb de Provence on here because it's a French soup. Now I want to make it clear, I earlier said that you could use any Dutch cheese. I know that I'm using Swiss cheese, but you can use any Dutch cheese. Just, you want something that has a little bit of bite, a little bit of flavor, not something mild like provolone or mozzarella. So that's why I'm using the Swiss cheese. You want to put in about 2 cloves of garlic. The garlic shouldn't take over, it should just enhance. And then about half a teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of pepper, and that's going to help the onions start to caramelize. Had the onions caramelizing, and we're going to go back to that. This is about 30 minutes of simmering, and so what you're looking for is a jammy-like consistency. Now this is a stick-free pan, so you're not going to get the same kind of fond, but at the same time I'm not going to get the sticking. So I have cooked this down. This was 15 farm fresh onions, a little bit of garlic, some herbs, and some salt and pepper. Now, if you would like to hurry this process up, you can use about a teaspoon and a half of sugar, and it'll help caramelize the onions. For this particular batch, I didn't do that, but you can. All right, so we've got it at a medium heat. There is no oil in here. This is half a cup of butter and then the onions. We're now going to add in about, let's put in a little less than a cup of white wine. You could also add a little bit of sherry in it, and that's okay if you are serving this to adults. This could be possibly being served to children, so I'm going to keep the alcohol low. Now there's the scent. There's the restaurant style French onion soup you're looking for. So we'll bring that back up at this medium heat, let it cook the alcohol off for a few minutes, and then we're going to add in a couple tablespoons of all-purpose flour. That's just to give us a nice thick base. Now, if you were with us before the break, we also took some baguettes, a little bit of olive oil under the broiler, and we've toasted those, and that's ready for assembly. Now, the wine and the flour are starting to thicken nice. This is looking like a nice thick onion jam, and this is where we're going to add in the broth. So I've got some stock from my freezer that I thawed out, and we are going to start adding that. Let's just let the flour cook a bit. The last thing we want is a flour flavor in that. Now, if it starts to feel, you know, I've got about 8 cups of broth here. I'm going to add it until I get the consistency I want. I will smell it. I can add a little bit of wine if I feel like it needs it. You can taste it, and you can even add in some salt. All right, we're going to add in about 4 cups. Spilled a little. Stir that up. Nice color, nice scent. This has to cook a little bit. We're going to cook this down and determine, do we need to add some more wine? Do we need to add some more broth? In the meantime, while this is cooking, we're going to take you to County Road 8. You can meet Bonnie and Ken Stinson at Brandeston Farm. Welcome to our series Farm to Fork. Today we find ourselves in between Bobcaygeon and Fenelon Falls on County Road 8 at a farm called Brandeston Farms. We're here with Bonnie and Ken Stinson. First of all, the farm's called Brandeston, but the last name is Stinson. We're going to ask you why.
It's named after a hall in Norfolk, England, when it was owned by a gentleman by the name of Richard Athill, prior to the Stinsons.
Okay, and so not somebody who owned this property?
No, it was prior to Ken's great-great-grandfather owning the farm from 1883.
But this farm has been in your family
yeah, since 83.
So 1883. And you weren't here then, so when did you take it over?
We took it over in 2007, and we actually moved to the farm in 2008 after we renovated the old farmhouse.
I saw it. It looks beautiful. Mm-hmm. Okay, so your son, John, he is operator?
He is. He's the brains behind it.
And your other son, Luke, is also
here? He works for John, yes.
Okay, so there's the 2 sons that you have,
mm-hmm.
and they work this farm. Well, we see out here lots of different vegetables. Is this the whole farm? Or?
No, this isn't the whole farm. This is a 4.5-acre field that we gave John to play with vegetable gardening. Wow. He was concerned back in 2019, he wanted to see if he could grow anything. He was worried about food security. Then boom, in 2020, the pandemic hit. Right. So it was kind of a timely venture to launch.
I saw the time frame, and I thought that really suited it well.
Yeah. So anyway, so each year it's expanding. Like the first year we only had this section, and each year it's expanded. And further out in the field there are big tarps laid down, and that's to kill off any of the growth that's there.
Sure.
And then they'll have to till that up. However, we're really no till, but to break ground we have to till.
And no livestock. It is just completely crops. Okay. So you have all of these things. I see that your son Luke is opening up or is cleaning out the CSA buckets. What's the turnaround like on that? So is it a weekly CSA?
It's a weekly CSA. So we also have customers that come weekly to get their products, or we deliver, or we do it bi-weekly. We found that some seniors, it's too much vegetable for a senior couple, and so anyway, we do a bi-weekly.
So you do a bi-weekly, and so they can you order it?
You can order. John has just recently launched an online ordering system.
Okay.
So if you live within the parameters of Bobcaygeon or Fenelon Falls, and when you click on it, it will allow you to have delivery if it's within the specified area.
And what you like.
And what you like. You just pick and choose. I want tomato, I want lettuce.
What I have found, some people like to get CSA random because they may not have tried that food before.
Right.
And then it comes. But, I mean, it's great that if you can order it because...
Yes, and then you could come to one of the markets, or you could order online at our online store, or you can come to one of the markets that we attend, Fenelon Falls and Kinmount. We also have our farm gate. We've started to do that more.
Good. So you don't have a farm store?
No, we set up our market, so we will put up our tent if we're at home from the market, and even if we're not, we still lay out a table.
And how long will you do that, till Thanksgiving?
Oh, we were open last year till November 11th.
Wow.
And this year we may be open later, depending. Of course, we're at the mercy of Mother Nature.
So are you certified organic?
We are not, but we practice organic.
Practice it.
We only use diatomaceous earth and Castile soap if we have to spray anything, and that's basically it.
How about pumpkins?
Yes, we have pumpkins over in the far corner there.
Okay.
Not jack-o'-lantern pumpkins, but pie pumpkins.
Oh, the nice smaller ones. Yeah.
So they're nice for the CSA program, so people can make their own pumpkin whatever, right?
That might be nice to cook something with pumpkin.
And this is our lovely lettuce that blows everybody away because of it looks like flowers, really.
Yeah, I saw it on your website, and that's butter lettuce, right?
That is, yeah. Yeah, and it's very popular, and
well, it's so tender.
Yeah, it's tender, and it lasts a long time, doesn't it, Ken?
Mm-hmm. I was seeing your celery. Mm-hmm. It's
I know.
Huge.
I was amazed the first year that we had celery, I think was last year. I'm going, it's really growing. You know, you kind of think, well, yeah, and
it's really growing.
It's
and
done well.
You've got kale.
Kale.
What is that?
And that's kale as well.
Do you work in the fields, or do you do most of the marketing?
Most of the marketing Ken and I do. Ken's the delivery person for the CSA program.
Oh, that's great.
And I usually get dropped off at the market on Friday mornings in Fenelon, and then he comes back and meets me for close-up time.
How do you irrigate? Is this natural?
It's a drip tape irrigation, and we do the irrigation overnight. You can see the tapes here. It's all computerized. That's why he has a math and computer science
I
degree.
know. I was thinking everybody adds what they can. And
that's right.
He probably does the website as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So he came up with this. I mean, he did a lot of research, obviously, to find out about it. It's not something that he just knew about. So.
And what about deer? I see that you've got a lot of...
yeah, we do have deer.
Yeah.
We do. They come in, and some nights they may decide that they want to have a bite of lettuce, and they do. Yeah.
So how many different things do you grow? How many different vegetables are on here?
Oh, gosh.
Because this is vast.
Lettuces, and we have spinach, of course, and we have kale and Swiss chard, so all those. And there's our romaine lettuce. I quite like that. It's a nice lettuce. Yeah. And then we have our beets and carrots and
zucchini.
Zucchini and our green onions and red onions.
Pumpkins.
Pumpkins,
Did I see cabbage? Yeah, let's go over to the pumpkin.
Cabbage, yes.
What about insects? And you were saying something about
we don't have any bugs.
I see that. I'm looking around.
Yes, we do. And as we say, when we go to the markets and what have you, now these beet tops look pretty decent right now, but sometimes we'll have them where they've gotten eaten and there's lots of holes in them. But anyway. Yeah, so it just depends. But yeah, we do have insects, obviously. Yeah. Our cucumbers are finished, and we've always had a challenge with cucumbers because we get the cucumber beetles.
Yes, yes.
And this year they did netting under the tunnel, kind of, around it, so that it gave a protection that way as well. And they're quite warm.
You got a tomato deciding that it lives here?
Yes, they pop up all over the place. You know, the birds and the seeds carry them around. So
all of this was at the market. All of this is in the CSA.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, not every week would they get everything in the CSA.
No.
You know, it just depends.
Well,
what's
like
coming.
If you ordered, let's say, onions, you don't need that the week next.
No. There's some more spinach in there.
Oh, speaking of onions?
Speaking of onions, John will plant some things just to see how they do. So, of course, it's not heated, and we don't water in the winter, obviously. And as I said, we got the lettuce in January last year.
But what would you plant in here?
Well, he'll plant some lettuce, and he'll probably plant some carrots.
And then you've got those seedlings in the spring.
And then the seedlings start in the spring. So we have first of all leeks in the first row here.
Oh,
so
nice.
they're not quite ready,
Leeks
but they'll be coming
potato
along.
leeks.
Potato and leek soup is one of my
So are
favorites.
you the cook of the family?
Sort of.
Yes,
I
okay.
guess if we call it cooking. John jumps in and helps as well. And
Do you cook or do you just you eat it?
Ken eats. He's not a cooker. And then we have the lettuce mix. So this is what it looks like when it's harvested, the different colors. It's really pretty.
It is.
And it's people really like that as well. Most people like any of our lettuces. So,
Well, they all look healthy now. How about
They
the
do.
washing system? Do you wash them?
we don't wash here. We rinse things off, like say the beets and carrots and what have you, but we don't wash the lettuces. So when people purchase it, then they know that they have to wash it.
Yeah,
And that's one of the instructions I give them when they're purchasing, say at the market, the heads of lettuce, you core it and soak it in, or not soak it, but let it rest in ice cold water in the sink for 15 minutes and then spin it and put it in the refrigerator and it lasts. So this is our okra plant, and not many people are really familiar with okra up in this neck of the country.
That's right.
But it's very popular down south, and that's where we were introduced to it. Friends of ours that live in Florida, and we went there, and you can do a number of things with it. It's very...
If it's cooked wrong, it's not very good.
Yeah,
It's mush, like
yeah.
asparagus. If you cook it wrong, it's the same family, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you've got more leeks.
The blossoms are gorgeous.
They're gorgeous. They look like
are.
yellow roses.
Yeah, they do.
So there's a lot of food here, and I don't
Uh-huh.
imagine that you can use this in your program or at your markets. What happens?
We also
to
donate to the
Okay.
food banks. So we've donated almost 2,000 pounds this year to Food Source in Lindsay.
Wow.
So we donate there. We started there at the very beginning. And because of different things, so we found out about Food Source and we started donating there. We go to Bob Cajun Food Bank and Fenelon Food Bank. And we donate there weekly. And we also participate in the Feeding Fenelon program.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, so we take over salad stuff. And
from what I understand about another tomato plant.
yeah, they
owning
just pop up anywhere.
What I understand though is asparagus takes care of itself.
More or less, yeah. And it takes a couple of years before you're able to, once you plant it.
This is a really beautiful mix here. This
Right.
looks like something we would see in a restaurant. Do you supply any restaurants?
Right, yes, we do. We supply a few of the local restaurants in Bob Cajun and Fenelon Falls. And we have basil in here. And we have thyme and some chives. Yeah, so these heads will probably be harvested for this week for the CSA and the market. And the romaine. I'm excited about the romaine as well. We have some carrots here, of course, and some green onions. And more beets.
More beets.
Of course, beets are very popular.
Well, this has been a really good tour. There's so many things growing here. And thank you for all the information about where to find you. So we can find you at markets. We can find you here on Fridays and Saturdays.
Generally on Fridays and Saturdays, and sometimes Thursdays. It's usually published on Facebook or on our website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. We'll post it and everybody will find out where to see you. Thanks a lot.
Well, you're welcome, and come again.
Welcome back. That was a great tour. While you were on the tour, the soup, it has been simmering away. It's a nice golden color that we're going to be assembling. I wanted to point out that on the farm while we were there, one of the sons, John, who is really the designer around a lot of the gardens and a lot of the greenhouses, mentioned that he is a vegetarian. This soup can easily be adapted with a vegetarian broth. There's so many vegetables on that garden that it's easy to make a broth. If you'd like to learn more about the CSA program on the farm, here's their website. Go give them a check and see how you can acquire and you can access some of their fresh produce as well. We are going to shut the heat off of this soup and we are going to start assembling. All right, because these soup bowls are a little bit bigger, I'm going to put 2 toasted baguettes in each one, place it on top, and then I'm going to sprinkle some of the Swiss cheese, the Gruyere cheese. And you can see the toasted baguettes serve such a nice purpose because this way the cheese won't sink to the bottom. And we're going to put that under the broiler. We're going to melt that cheese, and when we come back, we're going to serve it up. A little trick, if you discover that you've made your soup and it's a little bit too salty, a little trick is you can dice up a potato into about quarters, put it in, and the potato will absorb some of the salt. It's a way to remedy if you've oversalted your soup. All right, these are out of the broiler. They've started to melt. We're just going to top it up with, the bowls are hot, so I'm going to avoid them. We're going to top it with a little bit of chopped parsley. You can use dried parsley if you want at this point. And there you have it. All you need is some farm fresh onions, some butter, a little bit of wine, some broth. Before you know it, you've got a delicious bowl of soup. Thank you to Bonnie, John, and Ken Stinson for inviting us onto the farm. It was a great tour, and we really appreciate them taking us on that tour. Thank you to you for showing up. Until next time, keep cooking.